time for some more 5th grade math with HISD TV. I thought today, since it's our second lesson together, I would wear my Houston shirt, not just because I went to the University of Houston, but also because I wanted a reminder of that we're all in this together, Houston working together to get through this pandemic and continue our studies. So thank you for being here with me today. I am so happy you're here and I really look forward to this exercise. So for the next 30 minutes, what you're going to need is something to write with, pencil and some paper, and most importantly, your time and attention with me for 30 minutes so we can really sharpen our math skills. So I'm going to give you about a few seconds to get that. Hopefully some of you have already gathered it, but go ahead and take a few minutes to gather your materials. You can also pause the TV. Great. So as always, let's start out with what are we even going to do today? So let's take a look at that. So that's called our objective, right? What's the purpose of our meeting today? So we're going to review place value coming off of our first lesson. Our first lesson was the first time we looked at 5th grade math. So we talked about the most important thing, which is number place value, where numbers live. So we're going to review place value all the way to that thousands place, because that's how far out we go in 5th grade, all the way out further. We're going to review that. And then today we're going to spend the bulk of our time going through and representing digit values using 4 different types of number forms. They're called number forms. So one number can be written many, many different ways. And today we're going to talk about 4 of those. And they're called expanded form, expanded notation, standard form, and word form. Not too bad. And then last but not least, we're going to spend a little bit more time comparing and ordering decimals. So again, back to what we're doing today. I'm going to leave that up and then I'll shift my camera as we move. So now if I can get you to pay attention to this side that says review, right? So we're reviewing place value. That's correct. So let's review place value. So I'm going to put a number here and we're going to label the place value just like we did in our previous video. So that would be, I'm just making this number up so you can write it down with me. It's going to be 25 and the decimals and, because this is the whole number side, 312 thousandths. Okay, so this is just a sample number. And back to what we talked about last time, all I have to do is kind of look at this number and figure out which part is the small part of the number and which part's the big part, right? Because the decimal helps us see the difference between whole number and decimal. Remember that from last time? So on the left side of the decimal, remember, is the whole number. So this place value right next to the decimal is the ones place. You can write this down. And then this place is tens. Okay, so this is the whole part of the number. These are whole numbers, 25 wholes. And once we move to the right side of the decimal, the numbers started getting smaller. And this was the 10th place, tenths. Remember, we had to add that THS, TENTHS, tenths. One more over was hundredths. So you can just write 100 and then add THS, hundredths, and that symbolizes that it's getting smaller. And last but not least is thousands. Thousand, just like the regular thousand, and you just put the suffix THS. I like to underline it because students always, sometimes in class when we're not on a video, we say thousands. It's like spitting on someone, but that's how they remember it because it's so tiny. It would be like that. But I want to show you something else that we talked about in our last video. So the whole part, one more thing I forgot to write is that these are the whole numbers and these are the decimals, right? That's the decimal portion of the number, decimal. All right, so let's look at that with concrete objects. So the whole numbers were represented by a cube. Remember that from last time? So the cube represents a whole. And this would be 25 wholes in our example. So I would need 25 of these giant cubes to represent our whole number. Then we moved on to the tenths. So if you look closely, I would have to stack up 10 of these flats. This is called a flat. I would have to stack up 10 of these to make a whole. So therefore, 1/10 of the whole goes in this place value, tenths, okay? Then I would need 10 of those. The next thing we had was a long. It's called, this is a flat and a long. So if you look closely at this, it's got little grooves on it. You might have seen it in class. And if I were to break apart this plastic cube, and if I just cut this off and I had these longs, it would take me 100 of these, sticking them all the way in to fill up a cube. So 100 of these makes a whole. And which one's smaller? This one, of course. This is big, this is small. Smaller, so our numbers are getting smaller because the hundredths place, I would need 100 of these. Follow along, you're doing great. Last but not least, pretend that my whole number exploded into a bunch of tiny pieces. See that? So I need 1,000 of these. If I could open this up, it's plastic. If I could open this up and pour these in here, it would take me 1,000. I'll show you one at a time. It would take me 1,000 of these to fill up a hole. So now this one's big and this one's tiny. It's not even small anymore. It's tiny. So I need a tiny 1,000 of these right here, thousands, to fill up a hole. So that is why the numbers get smaller. Okay, great job on that review. Just remember, numbers can be measured all the way, and they can go past the thousands. They go into the tenths and millions, like on and on and on. But fifth grade, we're moving to the thousands place, so you have a sense of understanding how far we can measure a number. Okay, so leave that up there, and we will move on to number forms. So I'm going to show you what my notebook looks like. You don't have to have a notebook like this, and you don't have to have these little flaps. I just like to use Post-it notes sometimes to help me remember what I write underneath them. So if you ever organize your math notes, you could do this way, or you could just use a regular sheet of paper and just highlight or circle or anything you want, and then underneath it, just write down the definition. But this is like a fun little math hack, if you will, to get a topic explained to you. So this shows us visually that number forms, this is going to be our sample number, have 4 ways of being written. And I'm going to walk you through it. So we're just going to do it on the board behind me, but I just wanted you to see my notebook, okay? So now we're going to shift from our review. We're no longer reviewing. It's a little bit hard to get off. We're moving from our review over to our, I have a pointer today, to our represent our number forms, okay? So I want you to write down on your paper, or however you're keeping up with me, number, N-U-M-B-E-R, forms. I like to capitalize forms because it just kind of helps me remember what I'm doing. So there's different ways to write numbers. So we're going to go through and do that today. Okay, so the first way to write a number, and write with me, is called standard form. Have you heard that word standard before? Like, well, that's standard, or I'll take the standard version of something. So that means the most basic form of a number. And guess what? It's the easiest one because it's just the number itself. So in my example, we're going to use a number 16. Don't write that down yet. Okay, let's write standard form, okay? Standard form. And the standard form, I'm going to use the number 16.772, okay? That's our example. I just made that up, no big deal. So the standard form of a number is just the digits. It's the easiest form. It's just the digits themselves. So I like to say, in quotes, just the number. Pretty easy, right? It's just the number. It's just the number itself. So there you go. You already got one. Check. Standard form. The second one is called word, just like a word, form. And a word form is just like standard form, what do you think word form would be? Word form. How would we write the number in word form? In words, right? Word form, words, pretty easy. So I like to say the words written out. And I'm going to put this in quotes. The reason I'm putting it in quotes is like the real explanation for myself, the word form, the words written out. So let's try that. How would we write in words? And let me underline these just so they stand out. How would I write out? I'm going to write in a different color. How would I write out the standard form of this this number? So let's just read it out loud to ourselves, right? It's going to be 16. I'm literally just going to write it out in words. So it's a little spelling challenge. 16, right? That's the number 16. And how do we represent the decimal in word form? Does anyone know? 16 and, right? So we use the word and because that separates us from the whole number to the decimal portion. 16 and now I'm simply going to read this number, 772, and the place value where I land is my ending of my word form. So listen to this. So we just said 16, right? And I'm not going to say 772. I'm going to say 772. And the 2 lands in the thousands place. So I'm literally just going to write it out in words. 16 and 700 and, oh wait, not and, I'm sorry, not and, 772, so that's my number, 772 thousands with the THS. Remember, we landed in that tiny little spot. The thousands are these little guys, remember? It's the tiniest, the number is so close to 17 holes, but not quite there. So we're in this tiny little measurement between 16 and 17. So that is word form. The third one, I'm going to go back to black so you can see the pattern here. So I have the third. So we're done. We did standard form, just the number, word form, the words written out, and number 3 is called expanded form. So let's think about that. Expanded form. What does expand means? If I take a rubber band and I do this, what am I doing with it? Expanding, right? Expand, make bigger, like so take it apart basically, expanded form. So we're going to take this number and expand it with all its little place values that it makes up. So just watch. And you've actually done this in 3rd grade and 4th grade, but let's expand all the way to the thousands place. So we have, once again, I'm just going to rewrite my number, 16,772, 16 and 772 thousands, right? Because we landed in the thousands place. So now I'm just going to expand that number out. I'm going to say 16 is the combination of 10 plus 6. Does everybody agree with that? 16 is expanded into these place values. 10, this is in the tens place, ones place. So 10 plus 6 plus, what do I have in the tens place? 7. So I'm going to put 0.7 because I'm only representing the value here, plus, what's my next place? 7 hundredths. So I'm going to put a 7, leave that 0 because it's already here. 7 plus another 7 hundredths. And last but not least, we have a 2 in the thousands place. I'm going to go over that again. Expanded form. So remember, all I did was expand it out all the way, right? I expanded 10 plus 6. I took my whole number and I made, because if I put 10 plus 6 together, I would get 16, which is what I have here. Then I expanded out each place value that we learned. So let's walk back over here. Tenths, hundredths, thousands, okay? So here I represented my tenths place. Here I represented my, I went up here and looked at my number. This is the hundredths. And last but not least, I went all the way here and I know that I have a 2 in my thousands place. So I put zeros here because I don't need to re-represent them. So this was the thousands. All right. So that's the third number form. How many more do we have? One more. And it might be hard for you to see that. So I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. Okay. So the last one is the longest one of all. So let's go over it again. Standard form, word form, expanded form. So all of them end with form because we're doing number forms. Okay. So now the last one is actually called expanded notation. And I want you to think about that word notation. When you take notes on something, it's kind of a lot of writing, right? So notation is kind of the same thing, is that it's taking notes on a number. So we're going to expand the number even more and take notes on it. So think about that. Expanded notation. Just takes practice. So expanded notation. Expanded, so we're stretching it out again. Notation. Notation means taking a lot of notes. So let's take a look at our number again. This time I'm going to make it bright red. So look, I'm just using the same number. This. So I'm going to take my number 16.772. Here's my number. I'm going to put a big old red square over it. Okay. And then I am going to expand it out, taking notes. So I'm gonna go even bigger than before. Here, I just separated 10 and 6. Here, I'm actually gonna calculate it out. It's a very long way to explain a number, okay? So we're gonna take a look at our 16. How did I get the 16? So I'm going to put my equal sign because it's going to be a long amount of note taking as I expand. So 16. So how did I get 16? I got 1 times the tens place, right? Because I have a 10. There's a 10 in there. I have a 6. So 1 times the 10, right? Tens place. We're still in the whole numbers. And the other part of the whole number is 6. So I have 6 times the ones place. So look at that. I have a 10 plus 6 ones, which would give me 16. So I'm expanding it out, taking long notes. 1 times 10, 6 plus ones place. So you just put how many times of the place value is represented in your number. It's going to make a lot more sense. Let's keep going. Okay, I'm going to squat. So here we go. Plus. Now I'm moving to the decimal side. Now I have 7, I'm going to start a new parentheses. How many do I have in the tenths place? 7. So I'm going to say 7 times the tenths place. See? 7 times 0.1 would be 0.7, which would be the number represented here. Let's keep going. How many do I have in the hundredths place? Another 7. So 7 times the hundredths place. Excellent. And I ran out of space, but I'm going to keep going. Plus, my last number is 2 times the thousands place. See, I mark it with a 1. That's my thousands place. 2 times that would give me a 2 here, which would match the 2 here. And that is called expanded notation. So this is the bulk of our lesson today, is just to represent these digit values using these forms. So let's review. Standard form, word form, expanded form, and expanded notation. number forms. Everybody say number forms with me. Number forms. And there's going to be different ways that's represented. So I'm going to erase this and we're going to practice a problem using money because money coins are also decimals, right? So let's take a look at that. I'm going to erase this. Hopefully you had it written down in your notes. Actually, I'm going to leave that there in case you're still writing. Let's try it with this example. Okay, I'm going to scoot you a little bit closer. Ooh, sorry, that was kind of loud. Okay, sorry about that. But you know, that would happen in a real classroom, right? Like a little loud sound or something happens. And that's what's so fun about doing this TV channel with you guys is that it's actually kind of real. That would have happened to me if I was teaching you in person right now. So let's take a look at this, okay? I went ahead and you don't have to write this down. Just follow along with me, or you can if you want. I went ahead and prepared this ahead of time so that we could try it together with these number forms, okay? So I drew some coins. They don't look real, but you know, circles. So I have, let's look at what we have. Don't worry about all this yet. So up here just says try it because we're going to try it. And we have 1, 2, 3 circles with 25 cents on them. What is a 25 cents? A quarter, right? So we have 3 quarters and 10 cents is a dime. So we have 4 dimes. 5 cents is nickels. We have 5 nickels, and 1 cent is pennies, right? So we have quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies. And down here it says how much in total. So we need to figure out how much money we have. Hopefully you guys have gotten pretty good at counting your money, right? Because it's not just Robux and V-Bucks and all these other things you guys buy online, but we actually have to know how to count real money, right? So let's add up how much money we have. So right here we have 25 cents. So hopefully by now you've gotten accustomed to counting quarters. 25, 50, 75, right? So we have 75 cents. And I want you to remember how to write 75 cents. 0.75. It's not 75. That would be 75 whole dollars. We don't have that. We have 75 cents, and that's part of a whole dollar. So I can't have a whole number right here. I don't have a whole dollar. I have 75 cents. So 0.75. Okay. Then I have 4 dimes, 10, 20, 30, 40 cents. So I have 0.40. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and add those so I don't get confused. And I'll check these off. So I'm going to add 75 cents and 40 cents. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. And I'm going to bring down my decimal. So far I have $1.15. Cool. So let me add my nickels. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Another 25 cents. Okay. Let me just add 0.25. I like to break it up for you guys. Some of you like to add it all together, but we're going to go one at a time. So now with the 115, I'm going to add the 25 cents to it. So 10, carry the 1, here's 4. So now I have $1.40. Awesome, but I have 2 more pennies. So I'm going to add 2 pennies, 0.02, and I have $1.42. So I'm going to put it right here, 142. Okay, so when I add up all my money, now I have $1.42. But also it's a decimal. So let's take a look at it. Let's answer our question. Which digit is in the thousands place? Well, our number is 1.42. We don't have a thousands place. Well, we do. It's actually a 0 because that doesn't change the value of the number. So we can put a 0 there because that's still $1.42. In the hundreds place would have been the 2, and the tenths place would have been the 4. Okay, what are 2 ways to write our number? Well, we're not going to do standard form because we've already done that up here. Could we write it out in word form? Yes. So write it with me. 1 and 42. 242, and it lands in the hundredths place. Hundredths. 1 and 42 hundredths. Another way to write it would have been, you could also say $1.42, because this time we're dealing with money. $1.42. Okay, that's a different way. And let's go ahead and let's do one of these. Let's pick one. Since we don't have that much space, let's do expanded form. So if I have 1 and 42 hundredths, only focus on in this little square now. So let's write it in an expanded form. We would say 1 plus 0.4 plus 0.02. See, I simply just expanded it out. I took the 1 and I put it here. I took the 4/10 and I put it here. And I took the 2 hundredths and I put it there. And that was called expanded form. I know I write fast. Everyone tells me that. But expanded form. Standard form, word form, expanded form, expanded notation. I'll leave this up here for a few more minutes. So I have about 3 minutes to finish up. And what I want to do is just do one quick review problem based on last time on how to compare and order decimal values. And we'll keep going with this in our next session. Okay, so let me go ahead and erase this part so you can follow along. And I'll leave those up there if you're still writing. But I just have a few minutes to wrap up. And I want to compare batting averages of 2 Astros. I'm just going to make them up, okay? So if I had Jose Altuve, and his batting average was 0.316, and then let's just say Carlos Correa, one of my favorite players, his batting average was 0.318. And I want to compare and order. So first, I'm going to compare them. And the way to do that is, we talked about it last time, was stacking the decimals. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at these. These are in, I like to draw these lines. Look, draw yourself some lines. We're going to go more into this next time. Okay, draw some lines because I want to compare the correct places. Now I'm going to take a look. My decimals stay together. So on the left side of the decimal is the whole number. So are these whole numbers the same or different? Same. They're equal. So I still can't compare. I can't tell you which one's bigger yet because I don't know yet. What about the tenths place? Also the same. Hundredths place? Also the same. So I have to go all the way out to the thousandths place to realize that Correa's is larger. So this is greater than. So I can say, when I write my number sentence, that 0.316 is less than, this was a smaller one, 0.318. Okay, that's my comparison statement, like that. So that's comparing. And if you put them in order, say in this particular case, if we put them from greatest to least, you could say 0.316 is the smallest, followed by 0.318. And this is least to greatest. Okay, if you flipped it over, it would be greatest to least, and you would say 0.318 followed by 0.316. And this one, opposite of it, would be greatest to, greatest to least. Okay, I know that's a lot, but you guys are doing so great, and we're just setting the foundation for math in 5th grade, and the numbers are all over the place, but we know that they can exist in many forms. They might be given to us in different forms, and we know we can switch back and forth if we just walk through the ways we've learned it. We're going to start ordering them, comparing them, taking a look at answering problem-solving questions based on what we know about place value. So I will see you guys next time, and I can't wait. Have a great day.